This is lecture number 3 of this course called Phase Transformation in Materials. So we already have talked about a lot of things in the earlier 2 lectures. So today's contents are like this. This is thermodynamic state functions, plots versus temperature. So today in this lecture, I'll be showing you individual plots as well as plots of different state functions, your enthalpy, your entropy, your free energy, your Cp, right, with respect to temperature. And also, I'll show you plots. It is free energy versus temperature plot for 2 different phase for single component system. Suppose you have a single component system, and that single component system may be in one phase that is solid, in another phase that is liquid. What will be the free energy plot for solid and liquid for that particular single component system? And finally, the sign of change in free energy, that is delta G, relationship with the transformation. So these are the today's content. Okay. So now this is individual plot for enthalpy H, entropy S, free energy G with respect to temperature. So that means in every plot we have 2 axes. One will be the temperature axis, which is in the horizontal part, and in the vertical part we have different functions. The first one is Cp. So Cp is the heat capacity at constant pressure, or you can say specific heat at constant pressure, right? So if you remember it from the previous lecture, Cp is one of the most important function, right? And Cp is not constant. Cp depends upon the temperature and pressure. So suppose, since we are dealing with 1 atmospheric pressure always, then Cp is a function of temperature. If temperature will change, Cp value will also change. Cp is not constant, right? You have to remember that. So now you can see here the Cp in the y-axis versus temperature. See, when the temperature is increasing, the Cp value is also increasing and increasing and increasing with temperature, right? So in every point of temperature, the Cp value will be more and more and more. And finally, it will become saturated at a point called 3R. The maximum value of Cp will be like 3R at this point, right? So initially Cp value increases and goes to a higher value, and finally it becomes saturated value, that is 3R, right? For example, if somebody will ask what is the Cp value for a liquid phase, for a solid phase, for a gaseous phase, then you have to remember the Cp value will be maximum for gas phase, then liquid, then solid. That means solid will be having lower Cp value, but gas phase will be having maximum Cp value. And intermediate Cp value will be for liquid phase, right? This is the thing. And Cp value actually depends upon the vibrations, you have to remember, right? Vibration of the atoms present in the material, or vibration of the molecules. Suppose, for example, you have a material and you take that material to the lowest temperature possible. Can you tell me, can anyone tell me what is the lowest temperature possible?
Minus 273 degrees Celsius.
Minus 273. Okay. In degree centigrade, how much it will be? You are saying minus 273.
Yes, sir. Minus 273 degrees Celsius.
Degree Celsius you are talking about. Okay. In Kelvin, how much it will be?
0 Kelvin.
0 Kelvin. Okay. So okay, fine. Anyways, so minimum temperature we can go is 0 Kelvin, right? Absolute temperature 0 Kelvin, right? So below 0 degree Kelvin we cannot go. That is the lowest temperature possible. And but in the real situation we cannot reach to 0 Kelvin. Anyways, we don't have any kind of equipment which can take to 0 degree Kelvin, right? But anyhow, 0 degree Kelvin is the minimum temperature possible, right? It has been proved. from pressure versus temperature curve. This is not right time to discuss that. Anyways, so that means suppose this temperature is 0 degree Kelvin. Just look at this crusher. This is 0 degree Kelvin. So at 0 degree Kelvin, the Cp value is 0. Right? Why? Because there is no lattice vibrations there is no vibration of atoms or vibration of molecules inside the material. So in the material is freezed, you can say, or the atoms are freezed. They are not moving at all. There is no vibrations in the lattice. So Cp is also 0 at 0 degree Kelvin. Now you are increasing the temperature from 0 degree Kelvin to a higher temperature. And what happens to the Cp? Cp value increases. Why? Because the lattice vibration starts. The moment you are above 0 degree Kelvin, some vibrations will be there. More you go to a high temperature, more vibrations will be there in the material. So Cp value increases with increasing the temperature. Fine. So why the gas phase is having maximum Cp value? Because you understand in the gases, the molecules are easily free to move. They move randomly here and there. And so more vibrations will be there. So more Cp value will be there. Similarly, in liquid, the vibrations is less. In solid, the vibration is more or less. Right? So order of Cp value is maximum Cp value is for gaseous phase, then liquid, then most minimum value is for solid. Fine. Then now this plot is showing you enthalpy H versus temperature. Can you figure it out? What is happening to this curve? Why there is a negative axis here? You can see you have a positive axis and you have a negative axis. So what it means? This means at this temperature, just look at the crusher. At this temperature, enthalpy is 0. Enthalpy is 0 at this temperature. That reference temperature is 298 Kelvin. Fine. Okay. So that means basically we assume if your material is pure and you are at temperature at 298 Kelvin, then enthalpy is 0. But then again, if you are increasing the temperature from this point above 298 Kelvin, the enthalpy increases again. So that's why the curve is going down in the negative direction and moving to this point, right? And enthalpy also depend upon the Cp value, if you remember. Then entropy. Just look at this curve, entropy versus temperature. We all knows that we have basically, okay, how many kind of entropy we have basically? Can anybody answer me how many types of entropy are there in a material in general?
Sir, thermal and configurational.
Thermal and configurational, excellent. So thermal entropy is sometimes called vibrational entropy. That is due to vibration sometimes. Anyways, thermal entropy and configurational entropy, excellent. So you have to remember, whenever we are dealing with a pure metal or pure element, then we have only thermal entropy, right? But the moment we are dealing with an alloy or a metal with impurity or a system containing, if a system have two components now, right? Then we have two kind of entropy, thermal as well as configurational. It is okay? So pure metals, pure elements, pure substance have only thermal entropy. But when we are dealing with impure metals or alloys or multiple components or a system having two components at least, then configurational entropy will come into picture, right? Otherwise, there is no configurational entropy in a pure materials or a single component materials, right? And you have to remember, entropy is 0 at 0 degree Kelvin, right? You have to remember, entropy for a pure element or for a pure metal is 0 at 0 degree Kelvin. When you are at 0 degree Kelvin, there will be no vibrations at all. There will be no Cp. There is no Cp means there is no enthalpy. And if there is no enthalpy, there is no entropy at all. So entropy is also 0, right? Basically. So you can see, and we also know that entropy always increases with increasing in the temperature. It basically follows this kind of trend. Cp trend. Cp versus T trend is followed by this entropy also. But entropy always increases with increasing temperature. More is the temperature, higher is the entropy. Right? So, suppose this is at 0 degree Kelvin, entropy is 0. But the moment you are increasing the temperature, the thermal entropy is increasing. Right? Okay, can anybody define these thermodynamic functions, Cp, enthalpy, and entropy? Let me see how many of you can define this. You already have gone through this metallurgical thermodynamics. At least you should know the definition of this Cp, or basically enthalpy, entropy, free energy. Already we have discussed that in the earlier class. So what is heat capacity? Can anyone tell me?
The heat required to increase the temperature of the system by 1 degree.
Okay, yeah, you are absolutely right. Suppose, let it be, you are at 14 degrees centigrade right now. Suppose you have a system and that system is at 14 degrees centigrade, right? And that is, for example, that is in unit mass. Suppose 1 kg, for example. You have a 1 kg system and you are at 14 degrees centigrade right now. And you do what? You provide some heat to the system now, and the temperature rises to 15 degrees centigrade, right? From 14 degree, it becomes 15 degree. So there is 1 degree rise in temperature right now. So how much amount of heat is required to raise the temperature from 14 degrees centigrade to 15 degrees centigrade of that set substance? That is called heat capacity. I think you people have understood now. Okay, can you tell me what is, can anybody define me what is heat? What is heat? Can anyone define heat in a simple way? In school days,
Yes.
we define heat as a, like, heat is a form of energy, basically, right? But heat is something, or heat is a quantity, you can say. Heat is a quantity which goes into the system and the system temperature rises, right? Or heat is a quantity which comes out from the system or which leaves the system and there is a decreasing in the temperature. So heat is a quantity which rises the temperature of the system when it goes into the system. When it comes out of the system, it decreases the temperature, right? So heat is a quantity, simply, right? Now, what is enthalpy? In the previous lecture, I discussed this one. What is enthalpy? How you can define enthalpy?
The total heat content of a system.
The total heat content of the system is enthalpy. Are you sure about that? Then what is heat then?
Heat at constant pressure is called
Yeah, very good.
enthalpy.
Very good, very good. So you have to remember this one. Basically, in metallurgical fields, we are always dealing with 1 atmospheric pressure, right? Most of the things. Suppose you are boiling water right now. You take a container, you start boiling the water, right? That means in the atmosphere, we have a pressure of 1 atm pressure, right? So pressure is fixed, right? The pressure is fixed, that is 1 atmospheric pressure. And the water is boiling. Water is getting boiling because you are raising the temperature. Why? Because you are providing some heat into the system now, to the water, and it start boiling, right? Similarly, you are doing melting, you are doing some casting, you are doing something, metallurgical things, which are basically under 1 atmospheric pressure. So in that condition, if you are dealing with heat, then that heat will be called as enthalpy, not heat right now. So heat is a quantity. Already I've defined that. Now, but enthalpy is what? Enthalpy is a state function. Enthalpy means heat at constant pressure, reversible work. That work should be reversible one, and the condition is what? That heat should be at constant pressure. So heat at constant pressure, reversible work is called enthalpy. You have to remember. So whenever you are dealing with constant pressure and you are dealing with heat, then that heat is enthalpy. It is okay. So that's why if you go through any textbooks, like iron making textbooks or textbook for steel making or for any extractive textbook, you will see that they have written enthalpy. They do not write heat. How much enthalpy is going into the system, how much enthalpy is coming out of the system, or what is the enthalpy related to this particular system when it is in working condition. So now, okay, what is entropy? Can anyone tell me what is entropy? Basically, thermal
Degree of
entropy.
randomness. So degree of randomness of a system.
Okay, fine. Degree of randomness. Anyways, this is also right, correct. The degree of randomness. If the degree of randomness is more, there is more entropy. If degree of randomness is less, that is less entropy. Okay. And basically, there is an entropy called configurational. The configurational entropy will come into picture when we have two components or more than two components, or you can say more than one components. Suppose I am dealing with steel, for example, right now. So steel contains iron and carbon. So once you are adding carbon into iron, now configurational entropy will be there. Suppose you are adding chromium into the iron right now. You make a stainless steel where the amount of chromium is above 12% in the iron. Now configurational entropy will come into picture. But if you have only pure iron, there will be no configurational entropy. There will be only thermal entropy, right? So that is denoted by K ln W, right? Or K ln omega. Some people write K ln W or K ln omega. K is the Boltzmann constant, and this is logarithm scale of omega or W. W and omega are nothing but these are the number of microstate for a given macrostate. Maybe I'll discuss about this in coming lecture, hopefully. This is called K ln W or K log W or K log omega. Omega or W are same. Those are number of microstate for a given macrostate. Because if you are adding a particular element into a system, that element can be distributed in many ways. You can have number of ways. You can by different number of ways you can distribute that particular element into that system, right? You can have lot of configurations. So more is the configurations, more is the configurational entropy, right? Anyways, and further, if you define this configurational entropy, that can be defined as minus R XA ln XA plus XB ln XB. You have heard about this concept earlier?
Yes, sir, in MTK.
Yeah, very good. Anyways, this XA means mole fraction of A and XB is mole fraction of B. Anyways, so now that means if you are taking XA 0, then your configurational entropy will be 0, right? Or you are taking XB as 0, then your configurational entropy will be again 0. That means if one component will be missing, there will be no configurational entropy. To have configurational entropy, you should have two components at least, right? But if you are dealing with pure metals, pure substances, there will be no configurational entropy. Okay. So now this is a figure. You can see this is a figure showing what this is. Yeah, this figure is showing both enthalpy and free energy with respect to temperature. See, this is 0 degree Kelvin, right? And you are increasing the temperature. So what is happening to enthalpy? Enthalpy increases. You can see enthalpy starts from here, negative value. It goes to 0, then again positive value, right? Similarly, free energy. Okay, anybody remember what is the relationship between free energy and temperature? When temperature increases, what happens to the free energy?
Increases.
Free energy. with relation to temperature. Free energy always decreases with increasing in the temperature, right? Just see. I'll prove that soon, huh? Just see. This is the curve of free energy. Free energy is decreasing with increasing in the temperature, but enthalpy is increasing with increasing in the temperature. So you have to remember, Cp value increases with increasing in the temperature. Enthalpy increases with increasing in the temperature. Entropy increases with increasing in the temperature, but free energy decreases with increasing in the temperature. It is okay to everybody now?
Yes, sir.
So here you can see this is the enthalpy curve, and here this is the free energy curve. And what is this gap? This gap is Ts, temperature times entropy. Fine? Because we know the relationship G is equal to H minus Ts, right? So G is given here, H is given here, and this gap is Ts, right? So with increasing in temperature, temperature is increasing and entropy is increasing. So more is the gap. Initially the gap is small, then again with increasing the temperature, the gap is like increasing, right? So Ts is increasing, right? So this gap is Ts. And you can see this enthalpy is equal to 0 at 0 degree Kelvin. Okay, fine. Then this is free energy versus temperature. So free energy at, suppose this is 0 degree Kelvin, free energy is suppose maximum. And the moment you are increasing the temperature, the free energy is decreasing. So G decreases with increasing in the temperature. Free energy decreases, right? Can you tell me why this plot, free energy versus temperature, is not a straight line and going to downwards? Why it is not so? Can anybody tell me? Instead of this kind of curve, why I am not drawing a straight line downwards? That means a line with a negative slope downwards. Why it is not? Why this is a curve? If you have a straight line, what it means? The slope is fixed or slope is different at any point in a straight line?
Slope is fixed.
Very good. Slope is fixed. Excellent. If you have a straight line, the slope is not changing, right? If I'll draw a straight line like this, I'll start from this point and I'll draw a straight line going down here, right? It do not satisfy the answer. How it is not satisfying the answer? Because if you take the slope dz by dt is how much? Can anybody remember from thermodynamics? The slope of this curve g versus t, dz by dt, how much?
Entropy.
Sorry?
Negative of
Negative of entropy. Yeah, excellent. It will be minus s. That can be justified with help of which kind of equation? Can anybody remember any equations which justify this dz by dt is called minus s? Maxwell. Excellent. Maxwell equation. You remember that. Because Maxwell equation is dz is equal to vdp minus sdt. It is okay?
Yes, sir.
If you people want, I can derive that in coming lecture. That is very easy. You have to take only g is equal to h minus ts and you can end up with dz is equal to vdp minus sdt. So dz is equal to vdp minus sdt. That is Maxwell equation, right? But since we are dealing with constant pressure, so dp becomes 0, right? So that means vdp becomes 0, right? So dz is equal to minus sdt only. The moment the pressure is 0, then vdp will be 0 and dz is equal to minus sdt. And if you take dt in the left side, dz by dt, that will become minus s, right? But entropy will be never negative, right? Entropy will never become negative. Entropy will either become 0 or it becomes more positive value. Entropy never become negative. So you can write s is equal to minus dz by dt. In this way also you can write. Anyways, so you can see if I'll draw a straight line going downward, that means there will be no change in slope. If slope will be not changing, that means entropy is fixed, or it is not changing, or it is fixed or it is changing. If slope will be fixed, the slope of this line is what exactly? Is
Changing.
negative value of S, right? Entropy. And I told entropy always increases with increasing in the temperature. Entropy will be either 0 or it will be positive. It will be not constant, right? It will. So this slope of this curve is showing you the entropy. And if, right? But if the line will be straight, then there will be no change in slope. If there will be no change in slope, means the entropy is not changing. It is fixed. Okay? It may have negative value, but sorry, it is increasing in the negative direction anyways. So that's why we are not mentioning a straight line. We are drawing a curved line, because in this curved line, every point entropy will be different, or you can say increasing in the negative direction, right? You have different slopes at different point. That means it is showing variable slope. Fine. Anyways, up to this it is clear. Then we'll move to the next curve. So this curve will see why we are using plots, because plots are easy to remember. Instead of writing equations, plots are always easy to remember. If you can remember the plots, you can justify the functions easily. So again, all state functions Cp, H, S, G with respect to temperature. Fine. So you can see this is the vertical axis, this is the horizontal axis. The horizontal axis is showing you the temperature axis, right? So this is the temperature axis, and this vertical axis is showing you all the functions Cp, H, S, G. Fine. So first, basically, I am writing Cp here. You can see Cp as a function of temperature is equal to A plus Bt. This is a simple equation. I am not considering a multiple equation. It is a very simple equation, A plus Bt. Fine. Where A is your intercept, B is your slope, right? It is a straight line equation simply. So you can see the Cp curve is here. It is increasing in the temperature, and this is a straight line. Okay. So this dot line is for Cp. So Cp increases with increasing in the temperature. Fine. Similarly, enthalpy curve is this one. Just have a look. This is the enthalpy curve. You remember enthalpy curve intersect the temperature curve, and that point is 0. Enthalpy is 0 at this point, and it goes to the negative value, right? It starts from negative value, it reaches 0, then it becomes positive. So this is the enthalpy curve. So enthalpy curve, enthalpy as a function of temperature is here, H0 plus AT plus half BT square, right? Similarly, entropy curve. Look at the entropy curve. Entropy curve is entropy is either 0 or positive, right? So entropy curve will be this one. This is the entropy curve. This starts from 0, for example. It starts from 0. With increasing in the temperature, it becomes positive, and positive, right? Now you have Cp, you have enthalpy, you have entropy, and you have temperature. So now you can draw, if entropy curve is this one, which is in the positive direction, right? Then what will be minus Ts? That means I am multiplying minus T with entropy. So the curve will be just opposite. It goes down, obviously. So you can see minus Ts curve is here. It starts from 0 and going down like this, because you have multiplied a negative temperature here, right? So you have enthalpy, you have entropy, you have Cp, you have temperature, and you have minus Ts. Anyways, that means you have enthalpy and minus Ts. Now you can find out G. G is equal to, we know that G is equal to H minus Ts. We have H, we have minus Ts. So the curve of G will be like this. So this is the curve of G. It's going down, right? It's going down. And at this point, just remember, at this point, enthalpy is 0. H is equal to 0. And we know that G is equal to H minus Ts. So once H is equal to 0 at this point, that is 298 Kelvin, if you remember, right? Then G is equal to minus Ts. So at this point, G is equal to minus Ts because H is equal to 0, right? And I have written expressions for all this enthalpy, entropy, and G. And we know the relationship between Cp and all things, which already we have discussed that in the previous lecture. Because if you remember the expressions, dH is equal to Cp dt, right? Similarly, ds is equal to Cp dt by T, fine? And H is equal to H minus Ts. Now, free energy of solid and liquid phase for a single component system. So suppose you consider a single component, that is water now, fine. Or any single component like pure metal, for example. That may be in solid state, that may be in liquid state, right? So just have a look. So this is in the y-axis, we have free energy. And in the x-axis, we have temperature. Suppose, and we consider 1 atmospheric pressure. The pressure is constant. So if you remember, the free energy is a function of temperature and pressure. If you change the temperature, if you change the pressure, free energy will be changing. It will be not fixed, right? But here we are considering fixed atmospheric pressure, that is 1 atm pressure. So on free energy is only function of temperature. If temperature change, free energy will also change. We'll see that, huh? So you can see, we have already seen the free energy curve. This is the free energy curve, right? G curve for with respect to temperature. So here you can see, yes. So there is one curve. This is one curve for liquid, and this curve is for solid. Fine. So this is free energy curve for solid phase. This curve is for liquid phase. And since both curves are having different slope, so they will intersect at a point, obviously. So this is the intersection point. So free energy of liquid curve, free energy of solid curve will intersect at a point, right? And there will be a corresponding temperature axis. So this is the corresponding temperature axis where the free energy curve for liquid and solid are intersecting. Okay. So that point is nothing but what? Can you tell me what is that point? Or what is the corresponding temperature where these two free energy curve intersect? See, the point where they intersect, these two curves intersect, that means at that point, what will be the free energy? Can you tell me? Can anybody tell me what is happening to the free energy of liquid and free energy of solid at this point?
So they are
Equal.
They're equal, obviously. They're equal because they have different slopes, right? This free energy curve for liquid and free energy curve for solid have different slopes. So obviously, if two curves have different slope, they will obviously intersect at a point. And at that point, the free energy is equal, right? So at this point, free energy of solid is equal to free energy of liquid. And what is that temperature, corresponding temperature? Can you tell me?
Transition temperature.
Transition temperature, excellent. That is the melting point here, right? That is the melting point because solid become liquid or liquid may become solid, or freezing temperature, you can say. Either freezing temperature or melting temperature. At freezing temperature or melting temperature, free energy of solid phase will be equal to free energy of the liquid phase. Suppose you have a container now. In that container, you have ice and water. And you are at melting temperature, for example. Or you are at freezing temperature. So what will happen? Nothing will happen. The ice will remain as ice, the water will remain as water. Neither the water will become ice or ice will become water, right? Both phase will remain. Why? Can you tell me why both phase is remaining now? Because both have same free energy, right? The ice have same free energy, the water have same free energy, right? Or the liquid phase have same free energy, the free energy of liquid phase is equal to free energy of the solid phase. It is okay? Similarly, you take any metal. You try to raise the temperature. You go to the melting temperature, for example, right? So at melting temperature, the free energy of the liquid will be equal to free energy of the solid. So there will be no transformation at all. the solid will not become liquid. Similarly, you take a liquid metal, you try to come to the freezing point. At exactly freezing point, the free energy of solid will be equal to free energy of liquid. So there will be no solidification. The liquid will not become solid because both liquid and solid phase have same free energy. Okay. So let me justify this one again. You can see, suppose this is the low temperature and this the temperature is increasing. So at low temperature, you can see free energy of solid is low. Just have a look. At low temperature, free energy of solid is low. But at low temperature, free energy of liquid is more. But with increasing in the temperature, they are intersecting. And after this point, you can see the free energy of liquid is decreasing, but free energy of solid is more. It is okay. So this is the point of melting point temperature, right? So below melting point temperature, free energy of solid is less, free energy of liquid is more, right? But above melting point, at this point, above melting point, free energy of liquid is less, free energy of solid is more. Just you can see here I have written GS is less than GL below this point, right? Above this point, GL is less than GS, right? And what we know, which phase will remain and which phase will not remain. That phase will remain which have lower free energy, right? It is okay. So you can see that means below this point, below this temperature, solid phase will always remain. Why? Because solid phase have lower free energy than liquid phase. And above this point, above the melting point or melting temperature point, right? You can see the free energy of liquid is less than free energy of solid. That means above melting point, liquid will always remain. I think up to this, it is clear to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So just have a look at this point only, at melting point. Here what I have written, GS is equal to GL. But if you go below melting point, you in this direction, what is happening? If there is a transformation, you want a transformation, liquid to solid. Here I have written liquid to solid transformation. L arrow mark S. Liquid is transforming into solid, right? So then we have to calculate delta G, right? We have to calculate delta. Delta G is what? Change in free energy. So change in free energy here means the free energy of, since you are transforming liquid into solid. So liquid is the reactant, product is the solid. So delta G will be free energy of solid minus free energy of liquid. Why? Always product minus reactant. It is okay? You people are getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Right? So delta G is always change in free energy. That is, change in free energy means free energy of product minus free energy of reactant. Since you want to convert liquid into solid, so liquid is the reactant and solid is the product. So that will be GS minus GL. GS is the free energy of solid and GL is the free energy of the liquid, right? So you can see at this point, GS is equal to GL. Free energy of solid is equal to free energy of liquid. So below this melting point, you can see delta G, that is GS minus GL, is negative, right? Why this is negative? Because this, due to this one only. Because free energy of solid is less than free energy of liquid, right? So that's why GS minus GL will be negative value, right? So that means delta G is negative, and once delta G is negative, what will happen? Once delta G is negative, then that means it tells about the feasibility criteria. The reaction will happen or the process will happen, right? So that means solidification will happen, obviously, because the delta G is negative. So whenever delta G will be negative, the reaction will happen or the process will happen. That tells about the feasibility criteria, right? So that means liquid will become solid. So if you have a liquid above melting point and you are lowering down the temperature, you are going down below the melting point, what is happening? The delta G is negative now. So that means liquid will become solid, obviously. But if you are above melting point, just check this point and you are going above this melting point. So delta G is equal to GS minus GL, that is greater than 0, positive. So shell transformation will happen. The liquid will become solid. It will happen or not? You are above melting point. Shell liquid becomes solid. Yes or no? When you are above melting point, cell liquid becomes solid.
No.
Answer is no,
The
because
solid-
GS minus GL is positive. It is greater than 0, right? It is satisfied by this one only, because above melting point, free energy of liquid is less, but free energy of solid is more. So GS minus GL is greater than 0. And if GS minus GL is greater than 0, it do not tell the feasibility criteria is not there, right? The reaction will be not feasible, the process will be not feasible, or here the transformation will not happen. The liquid will never become solid. Okay. So that's why it is written. Sign of delta G tells us the direction of transformation. So delta G sign, whether delta G is positive or negative, or it is 0, that tells about the transformation direction. So first criteria, at melting point, free energy of solid is equal to free energy of liquid phase. So delta G is equal to 0. So there is no driving force available. So there will be no transformation. The liquid will not transform into solid, or solid will not transform into liquid, if you're talking about. Fine. Similarly, if you are at above melting point, then at above melting point, free energy of solid minus free energy of liquid is greater than 0, right? Or GS is greater than GL. Free energy of solid is greater than free energy of liquid. So if this is the situation, then again there is no driving force for the transformation. Liquid will never transform into solid. You have to remember this point, right? And now suppose you are below melting point. Below melting point, GS minus GL is negative, less than equal to 0, right? Or less than 0 basically, because free energy of solid is less than free energy of liquid. So now delta G is negative. So now this is the condition where there will be transformation. So whenever delta G is negative, transformation will happen. If delta G is positive, transformation will not happen. If delta G is 0, it is an equilibrium condition, you can say, or there will be no transformation. If both phase will be there, both phase will remain when delta G is equal to 0, right? It is okay now? I think you people have understood.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that
sir.
means delta G is nothing but a driving force. If delta G is negative, driving force is available. Transformation will happen. If delta G is positive, there is no driving force. So transformation will never happen, right? And if delta G is equal to 0, then that is the equilibrium condition actually. If two phases are there together, two phases will remain. Nothing will happen. But if one phase will be there, then again nothing will happen if delta G is equal to 0, because that is the equilibrium condition. Okay. So I'll stop here. If you have any queries, you can ask me.